Today, we are going to talk about how to set up an Uber driver on a long-term private rental agreement step by step. I know you guys have been asking me about this. There is a lot of material on this channel about this, but we'll go over it one more time. Before I get into that, click below, grab the 5 things you must do before starting a car rental business. That also includes the Car Share Growth Guide, which gives you a city-by-city breakdown of which car share platforms are strongest in your area. And I am offering a free 15-minute consultation if you want help setting up your business. Okay, so let's get into this. Setting up a driver on a long-term private rental agreement. I'm going to boil this down into 5 steps. I will caveat this and say to you, however, there is more nuance than what I can explain in one YouTube video. Like I said, this will get you off on the right foot. So first of all, this form of rentals must be respected. Your life will be made into a living hell if you do not follow these steps closely. Trust me, this is how I started in this business. I started with doing private rental agreements in New York City, the toughest market in America when it comes to car rentals and the toughest form of rentals. So I learned this business by trial by fire. Never had Turo back then for me, never had Get Around. This was almost 10 years ago. I did this the hard way. First of all, you must find a driver. I would look right now on hirecar.com, or you can look on Uber Fleet. Now you may say to yourself, HireCar is insane, it's crazy, I know. HireCar is crazy and insane, but you need to find someone who's looking for a long-term car and a long-term rental. And all those guys are on HireCar. That said, when you go on HireCar and you find someone who's looking for renting a car at minimum of 3 months, and when you are on HireCar, you can chat with people who are looking for rentals. So when you list a car on HireCar, you can put up a listing, and when people start reaching out to you about that listing, then you can basically talk to them and find out how long they're looking to rent a car. They're going to need to want to rent a car for at least 3 months. Like I've said in previous videos, this is the last year of HireCar, so you can do this year. After this year, I would move over to Uber Fleet. So once you have found someone who is looking to rent a car for 3 months or more, then we move on to step 2, and that is vetting the driver. I would say at minimum, you must vet this driver with a background check and an MVR report. So you can go to checkr.com, that's checkr.com. Also, there are a series of questions I would ask this driver and talk to them just briefly on the phone. If you look on this channel, there is a video about how to vet a driver on HireCar, but I'll give you a brief synopsis. You want to make sure they're driving at least 40 to 50 hours a week. You want to make sure the mileage they're putting on the car is somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 miles a month. If they drive 7,000 to 10,000 miles a month, that's too much. You're going to burn out your car. Personally, I don't like to take any renters under the age of 35. I also like working with drivers who have a family. If they have a family, they have to support their family. Therefore, they are motivated to work. Step 3, then you have to set up the contract and you have to set up the terms. So a couple things I want to say about this, a couple things I like to do when it comes to setting up contracts and terms. I like to incentivize good behavior. One thing I do is if someone pays 4 weeks in a row on time, no issues, I will take $100 off and give that back to them. They usually like that. That typically incentivizes good behavior. In a private rental agreement, you're going to charge somewhere between $400 and $500 a week. I also like to incorporate rent to own deals. So if they pay on time, there's no issues at all over the course of 18 months, then they can have the car. You can structure that into the deal as well. That typically incentivizes further long-term good behavior. You always need to take a deposit, typically about $400 right up front before you hand off the car, and payment needs to be made weekly, typically on a Monday morning or sometime on Monday. If that money does not hit your bank account that Monday, on Tuesday, you take the deposit. If the money still has not come by Wednesday, you then take the car. You have to outline these strict rules with the driver very, very early on and make sure they understand you are not messing around when it comes to payment. When it comes to how to collect payment, I typically like to use Stripe. Stripe is pretty easy. You can set up recurring subscription payments to go to your account. Now, in terms of the contract and a sample contract, I do include that in my new Master Operational Playbook. The Master Operational Playbook covers all forms of car rentals, Turo, Get Around, and long-term private rental agreements. I do have a sample contract in that program. You can click below and find out more about it in the link below. That contract normally with a lawyer will cost you $2,000 to $3,000 minimum to have that put together. This is included in the course. Step number 4 is you must set up insurance before handing off the car to this driver. This is a tricky tricky part in this business. So there's a couple options you can deal with this. When it comes to insuring one-off cars for private rental agreements, it is a lot stickier. There's really no clean solution yet in this industry. It's not ideal, but I'll give you a few options. Your first option is to go to someone like Progressive, State Farm, or Allstate. You can add another driver to your policy and put them on a rideshare option. Only do this if they have a clean record based on the background check and the driving report. That said, I will caveat this saying you cannot add and remove multiple drivers onto your retail insurance because they hate that and they will drop you if you do that 3 or 4 times. So like I said, this is not ideal. It is certainly easier when you get up to 15 or 20 cars under private rentals because then you can use large carrier insurance and they are fine with rideshare drivers. Another option you can do for insurance, you can list the car on Turo, put it at a very low rate, like $20 a day. Have them rent the car on Turo, have the insurance go through Turo, and then have them pay you cash for the difference to make up for the $400 to $500 a week. If you want a clean insurance solution, that's one as well. Another company to look into is Hugo Insurance. They claim to do private rental agreement insurance. That said, I think this company is probably like another Lula. So I think the chances of your claim getting denied are pretty good. You can find them at withhugo.com. And lastly, step number 5 is enforcing the contract. So like I said before, you collect the deposit up front, you then hand off the car, you have them sign the agreement, and then every week, typically on Mondays, because they have all weekend to drive for Uber on the weekends, which is lucrative. On Mondays, they pay $400, $425, $450, $500, somewhere around there. And if they don't pay on that Monday through Stripe, on Tuesday, you take the deposit. If they don't pay by Tuesday, on Wednesday, you take the car. Now, keep in mind, you're going to have a lot of people who are going to give you all kinds of whiny stories. If you start doing this with multiple cars, 4, 5, 6 cars, you're going to want someone, an intermediary and a buffer to handle all the whining and all the dumb excuses they have. Because these people are always going to give you sob stories about why they can't pay. I've seriously heard it all. Like, they will tell you their grandma's in the hospital this week and that they can't pay and blah, blah, blah. Just tell them, if you can't afford the car, bring it back. It's that simple. Unfortunately, in this kind of business, you have to be stone cold tough. Every driver I have ever worked with has tested me at some point. All that to say, if you want the full breakdown, all the details, I do include all of this in more detail in the Master Operational Playbook that has now been released. Click the link below. It gives you a full breakdown of Turo, Getaround, and long-term private rentals. It is the most comprehensive course on car rentals on the internet. It will teach you how to minimize seasonality by swapping out different models. And like I said, the sample contract by itself is worth thousands. All that to say, drop some comments below. Would love to hear your thoughts. Before I go, click below, grab the 5 things you must do before starting a car rental business. I will catch you in the next episode. Thank you.